We have big news. We have exciting news for you. Tell them what it is, Serena.
We are super excited to announce that we are starting our first membership this January 2024.
Yay! Membership.
So we're excited to let you know that we will be hosting a monthly membership where when you join, you will be
with us live in a Zoom room once a month for a workshop like we just hosted. It's going to be a workshop like that, one topic each month, a different topic. You might even help us come up with the following month's topic from inside our membership. Super excited to meet you. It was so fun meeting a few of you in our inaugural workshop. So we're really looking forward to that.
And when you are a member, you will also be receiving a monthly newsletter where I'm going to be a little more intimate and I'll be sharing the things that are working and the things that aren't working for me.
Yeah, like taking a tool that you've learned from the podcast and how you're implementing it and how well that worked, or maybe if it didn't work. And then Amma can put in my 2 bits worth. We'll see how that goes. But a membership newsletter and a membership live Zoom room workshop starting in January 2024. Can sign up through our Patreon link in the show notes, yeah?
Yes, everything will be in the show notes, and we can't wait to see you there, listeners.
We can't wait. Yay!
Hello, mamas. Welcome back to another episode here at the Nurturing Parent Podcast. Today, for episode number 85, we have Heather Teach Outside join us for an amazing conversation on all the possibilities, opportunities, and benefits that just getting outdoors has for us and for our kids. It was quite an amazing conversation. I ran to YouTube to go see and try to experience what her school is like. And I think it's truly an amazing concept, and it's ludicrous to think that we do it the way that we do, with school being indoors, kids sitting at a desk all day and just being fed information. I love the work that Heather does. I'm so grateful that she provides this for kids, and I hope to find an outdoor school for my children because it's an amazing concept and I love the work, and I think you will be blown away too. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Hey, Mama, welcome to the Nurturing Parent Podcast. Do you want to end the constant battles for bath time? Do you find yourself emotionally exhausted at the end of the day? Do you wake up with big hopes for a smooth day of fun with your little ones, only to face an early morning meltdown because you peeled their banana the wrong way?
Silly you.
Silly you.
Hey, I'm Serena. I'm a mama of 2 little ones, and as a new mama, I constantly questioned myself. I wanted to make sure I was raising respectful kids while also building a strong bond with them. But I discovered that I had to unlearn my ideas that punishment was the way. With Lisa's encouragement, I've been practicing a respectful and gentle parenting approach, which is strengthening our bond as a family.
And hi, I'm Lisa. Amma means grandmother in Icelandic. I am a mama and an amma. And I have over 40 years of experience in childcare and parent coaching. And I am so excited to share the knowledge I've gained over these years with you.
Together in this podcast, each week we will explore some easy to implement skills you can add to your parenting tool belt to help you create a happy, thriving family. Today, we are really happy to introduce you to our next guest on the podcast. Heather Taylor is coming to us today from the Outside School located in California. Heather spent the bulk of her childhood outdoors playing freely, which developed a passion for her being in nature. She has been in the educational realm since 1989 and has been a formal teacher since 2002, teaching solely outside since 2007. She has a bachelor's in anthropology, is an EMT, an emergency medical technician, and is a California master teacher. Heather first became a preschool teacher with her position as the preschool's garden teacher, a natural fit for her, thus beginning her career as an outdoor educator. She was thrilled to open up her own program outside school in 2019. Welcome, Heather, and thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I've been wanting to talk to Lisa forever. So
yeah, so excited to meet with you here and to hear your special brand of wisdom and what you're bringing to the world and the children and the families that you work with.
Thank you so much. I really love it. I love your podcast too, by the way. You have such a unique perspective on parenthood, and I really love it.
Thank you.
So what led you to teaching outside and the passion behind there?
Well, I had worked in a bureaucratic job for a while after I graduated from college and discovered that just wasn't for me. And I had a life mentor who said, "You are a teacher." And I said, "No, I'm not." And she said, "Yes, you are." And I said, "No, I'm not." And I really fought her on the subject for about 9 years.
9 years?
9 years of fighting her on the subject. And really realized it was time for me to make a career change. And I thought, well, let me explore this teaching thing. And then also let me explore the bioengineering industry, which is really huge around here with Genentech and everything. Because I also had biology lab experience. And I went and sat with my friend in her classroom and learned what being a teacher was and decided to go further. And that was my second career. So here I am. And right away I started working in a preschool classroom. And so, with your nurturing parent focused on the early years, wow, I really want to give kudos to all the parents out there raising young children, because it is hard. It's really, really hard. And a lot of it is repetitive. And that was part of what, after 5 years of being in an indoor classroom got really hard was, I'm still raising, 4-year-old children or 5-year-old children. And I'm still cutting up apple slices and I'm still laying down nap mats. And it's, a lot of repetition and everything. And since I was working with one age group, it was always kind of the same year by year. So the school opened a garden and I grabbed the opportunity to go teach in it. I took it. And when I first started doing it, I had a very set curriculum. I want to explore this concept and that concept and this concept and that concept. And one of my first lessons was about worms. And I went and got package of red worms, which are what people use for composting, and they live near the surface of the soil. And I got a package of earthworms, which are bigger and dig deep into the soil. And I thought we would compare and contrast the two types of worms. I got both of these from a bait store. You can compare and contrast these sort of worms, but all the kids I was teaching at that point, every class had a day in the garden. So ages 2 through 5. Across the board, every single kid said, "I've never seen one of these."
Oh my God.
And I thought, it's an earthworm. Like, they're everywhere. And yeah. And I just thought, this is not good that 2 to 5-year-old children have never experienced a worm before. So, the lessons went from comparing to contrasting to just, this is what this is.
This is a worm. Okay, I just have to say, I have so many photographs of little ones, my grandchildren, and little ones in my care. I do private childcare, of them like bending over and getting their noses, a foot away from the ground and just really watching the worms walk, scoot their way across the road. So we see worms when we go out for walks.
But you have to go outside. You have to go outside.
Yes, you do.
That's what made me realize that kids weren't outside. And I was realizing, well, the kids are getting taken from their front door to the school and they're not walking anywhere anymore. At least not really here in the East Bay where I live. We call it the East Bay. I live 5 miles north of Berkeley. Right across the bay from San Francisco.
So that concept right there, that children are not being outside. That's what
Mhm.
I would love us to focus on here.
Okay.
Um, thank you for that history of how you got to where you are. And now you have what you've named the outside school, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
with school age children, no longer with preschoolers.
Mhm.
And what I'd like to give our families who, a few of them may be in around your area close enough to
Mhm.
reach out to you, hopefully, and look into your school more. I would
Mhm.
love if you got people from our listenership to come in and explore what you're offering. Um, and for the bulk of our listeners who are all over the world
Mhm.
with preschool and toddler ages and
Mhm.
even infants,
Mhm.
I would love you to share with us the benefits of getting the children outside. What have you seen when
Mhm.
you've got the older children now
Mhm.
outdoors in your school? What are you noticing? As you said, a lot of the children haven't been outside a lot. What are you noticing that they're coming to you with, and how are they growing and learning in the experience
Mhm.
of being outside?
So one of the main things, like we just said, is just go outside. It doesn't matter how old or young the child is, just go outside. And the huge benefits to me are a more level of calm with the child. You and actually I find that this is as much true for the adults as the children, is more calm. So everybody gets more calm.
Yes,
Also, you can,
yes.
but also conversely, you can be as loud and boisterous as you want to be also. So you really get this energy out that you can't get out when you're in your home or you're in your classroom, wherever. You just can't get that energy out, and you have to go outside for that. Then you get to experience whatever the world has to bring. Like right now, I have all these flowers behind me and I'm hearing birds chirping in the background, but then a helicopter goes over to just, there's so many things that are just constantly there for your senses. You're feeling, right now I can feel the wind on my hands and my face, and it's blowing my hair. I can see the sunshine, I can hear the birds, I can smell these flowers that are behind me. It's really a sensorial experience, and it helps you learn about the world to be out in it that way. And the more you do it, the more you notice and the more benefit you get. Um, but that's not to say, if you live in an apartment that's maybe you have a window overlooking an alleyway with a bunch of bricks on the building next door. That's not to say you can't have a couple potted plants in your house and have your computer background be a scenic, forest or a beach. You will still benefit from nature, even just looking at photos or having a small house plant. And then if you have more than that available, utilize it, because it is there for everybody.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love the idea that we can bring little tiny bits in to our world if we are, like you say, in a very high density urban area.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, having houseplants, yes, 100%. There's something about the beauty that I experience in nature that is so uplifting,
Mm-hmm.
so calming. It makes me smile. It warms me up somehow. And even having cut flowers in a
Mm-hmm.
vase, like the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of those flat, like, wow. And I don't recommend um, having only cut flowers, because you want that living plant too,
Mm-hmm.
right? but
Yeah.
but that's it, is the beauty and the diversity of
Mm-hmm.
nature.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been working on some various mindful practices. I learned recently that I had anxiety from a very young age, and I didn't really know it because it was had become really a part of myself. And now I've been working on that, but part of that has been getting out a bud vase. And each week I go and look for a flower or two just around the block to stick in the little bud vase. So I have these little, fresh cut things that are just part of a little walk just right around the block where I live. And sometimes they're just weed flowers, but they're a little part of nature to bring inside. And so having these mindful experiences is really important too, I think.
100%. I have been posting for a couple of years now, every morning, a photograph that I take in nature. And it's usually a very zoomed in macro photo. And just to follow up on what, you said, like, have something beautiful on your desktop of your computer, have a background that's something in nature. And I can't tell you how many people have privately messaged me and said, I wake up, I get my morning coffee, and I come and sit down and look for your photograph.
Aw, how sweet.
And, so it's like, wow, like I'm just spreading the beauty of the world through this device of technology.
That's
so even like you said, even the photographs or the visuals on our screens can feed us, it can give us something.
Yeah. And I think that's something for, being a parent too, is if you're demonstrating to your child, even when they're an infant, that you value going for a short walk outside, notice that there may be a flower or two you could take home with you, or you could smell or feel, or is it a dandelion that's turning to seed? Just those small little moments are so beneficial for both you and your child. And they, whether you know it or not, that's becoming a part of them. So
yes,
everything you do becomes a part of your child. And it's a really amazing thing.
I love how in your bio you started off by saying that you grew up outdoors so much, right? And here you are teaching full-time out of doors. And it's really funny because I grew up outdoors as well. And I am from an era, I'm in my early 60s now. I'm from the era where we just went out.
Yep.
On Saturdays and Sundays, we had our breakfast and we went outside. There were no parents around. We just went, a bunch of us from the neighborhood, and we'd explore the woods, or we'd go on bicycles down to the beach. I mean, it was incredible how much freedom we had and how much time outside.
Yeah.
And that's a big, big part of who I am in the world, bringing that the love of nature that comes from our exposure back to families. Because like you say, even those little moments of a walk around the block, like looking at that bug crawling across the sidewalk, looking at that flower that grows up through the crack of the pavement, right? Like those are magical moments. What I also really find, I don't know if you find this with the older ones or if you did find it with the preschoolers, if we let our children take us for a walk, they will see those things, right, Serena, with your little ones? Do you notice that they're seeing the little blossom, the little tiny little blossoms, or the little squiggly bugs or whatever? And then if we slow ourselves down and let ourselves see through their eyes, we get to experience that wonder that there is so prevalent in childhood when they have the freedom like that.
When children can explore on their own, it's really nice. But I see so many kids just, if there's not something that's stimulating them, they want the phone. They want something that's there, like in their face. It's the parents that need to allow the kids to spend some time outside and to get a little bored outside, and not, oh, let's go outside and go to the park, because then sometimes the parent is rushing to the park and the kid does want to stop and smell the flowers or see the worm, but it's, no, we have to go to the park. We're going to the park. Let's go to the park, because then go to the park time. Then it's time to go home and have dinner. It's like a regimen, and there needs to be a little more flow and freedom.
that story is so good because it talks about it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Every
Mm-hmm.
moment of that walk can be a precious moment. Heather, I'm guessing that when you get new children into your school, and back in those days where you were with the preschoolers outside in the garden, what did you find, or what do you find with what Serena was just saying there about unwinding them from the addiction to
Mm-hmm.
the screens or the need for being entertained or that kind of thing?
Yeah, that is huge. They're used to being entertained by devices or parents, or, for the older kids, if they've been in public school, particularly by their teachers, they're always being told what to do, when to do it, all that stuff. And that's not to say I do have a schedule with my kids, for instance, because we want to make sure we're taking care of our bodies. We want to make sure we're eating and all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
they really, the older they are, the longer they take to learn how to unwind. It's been very, very pushed in. And I do think that there is a tremendous amount of pressure on parents to get to the park. Even if the idea is, I want to go outside with my child, the idea is, just like you were saying, Serena, that we have this destination and we need to get there as fast as possible. We don't have time to stop. And really, what's really probably the most beneficial to everybody is letting go of the idea, okay, let's go to the park. But whether or not we get there is less important than the travel to and from, especially if you're on foot, because
Mm-hmm.
what is this bug? What is this flower? What is this, little trail that we see coming from behind a snail, and all those things. So there's just, I think parents face a tremendous amount of pressure, social pressure on the outside, and then a pressure to maybe do things how they think they should get done. And then I think that it would be really beneficial for everyone, just let some of that go and realize that the moment is what's the really important part of it.
Yes. Just being present.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Are there any tricks that you can share about how to allow or encourage those children to be able to unwind? And, if they keep wanting direction, they keep
Mm-hmm.
wanting a device, what could you offer our parents? Anything there?
So, with each group of kids, I do different techniques, but something I have come up with recently is I will bring a book with me. And when they start to play, I will go read the book. And I'm right there and I'm totally paying attention to them. And sometimes I'm not even reading the book, but they're perceiving me as reading the book.
Oh, you're reading a
And
book of your own,
I'm reading a book of
not
my
to
own.
them.
Exactly. Well, I definitely
Okay.
read to the kids too, but I actually bring a book
Yeah.
that I want to read. And so they perceive me as reading, whether or not I'm reading, and they will continue to play off on their own because they can see that I'm quiet and busy. And they usually, they'll come. And my idea is that I try not to interject unless I need to for something that's happening, or they need me. Like, I want them to know that I'm there, but I don't necessarily want them to know I'm immediately available. So they kind of have
Mm-hmm.
to decide, oh, are we going to interrupt her reading to come and tell her this thing? And so it's a trick it's a very gentle trick where I'm there and I'm ready and I'm available, but they don't perceive that. So then they're not looking to me to come intervene with every single thing. When that's what I want them to learn is how to have a social interaction and how to make up their own games and how to be creative with not a lot of supplies out in nature. And so that's a little trick I have. it could be knitting, it could be, a book, whatever. And also I have something, my husband and I have a favorite park bench, or actually two in parks, and we go and watch nature TV, we call it. So I've actually implemented that as part of my day as well. So I'll just tell the kids, hey, I'm going to go watch nature TV for 10 minutes. Do you want to join me? And they never want to join me. They always want to play, but then they know I'm basically similar to reading. I'm there, but I'm not necessarily all that available. So if they need me, I'm there, but otherwise, let's play peacefully while she's watching nature TV.
That's so fun. And I want to reiterate for our listeners that you're reading a book and not looking at a phone or device.
Yes.
The difference, we just recently put up a replay of an episode all about how our phones are stealing time from our children. So the difference of the energy of you sitting and reading a book is that you have a physical book in front of you that you're absorbed in, or so it appears,
right,
rather than a screen, which, is pretty constant for a lot of children, that their parents and adults around them are distracted constantly. And intermittently by that screen. So that's a beautiful idea. Put a pocket book in your purse or your backpack when you head outside next time, or even in the backyard, right? Like Serena, I just could imagine you being in your backyard, sitting, reading a book, and letting the kids play and just letting them explore and figure out games. And I love that idea.
Okay, that just reminded me of a childhood thing that we would do. My mom would sunbathe in the backyard or read, and I think treat her cuticles. But while my sister and I played in and under this tree, and we basically had a mud pit and plastic dinosaurs, and we would just do that while my mom was doing whatever her backyard
her beauty
thing was.
Yeah. I remember in elementary school, I'd come home and just make sure my room was clean, and then I was just outside the whole time. And I remember looking for ladybugs, trying to catch butterflies, digging up the worms, because my dad had the lawn laid out when they put the lawn on top of, so then I would always go underneath to find the worms. My dad would say, stop it, because the grass had to attach to the dirt.
Oh, they put sod down.
Yeah.
He was like, stop lifting it. I remember all the kids in the neighborhood, either we'd go on our bikes and ride around the neighborhood, but we were out all day, every day. And when I was growing up, that's when the video games were becoming more popular, and I liked video games too, but I know I loved being outside with all the neighbors, and we would just disappear. We would go find forests, and I wanted my kids to grow up the same way I did. And it's hard now with the technology and the YouTube, and that stuff is so addicting for them. But it's like we're fighting against that to get more outdoors and to get them to appreciate nature, because it's beautiful and it creates something inside of you that just blooms and makes you
more you.
Yeah,
it does. Heather, I'm really curious, when you have these children coming to you who aren't used to being outside and, child-led learning activities, learning how to interact with each other or even themselves, being entertained on their own, are you finding that there are children who just flatly refuse to ever enjoy nature? Or are you finding that given a bit of time, children will flourish across the board?
Yeah, because I definitely get students whose parents say, I have an indoor kid. Is that a problem? Or my child is screen addicted. Is that a problem? Or we've never spent time outdoors as a family. Is that a problem? I said, just bring them. And every kid is different. Some figure it out right away. Other ones can take a couple months to start to figure it out. But
And by figure it out, what do you mean?
by figuring it out, meaning that some of them are so accustomed to being entertained by screens or adults that they'll just sit there and not understand that I have some supplies available to them and they can go explore the world. And some will even resist my prompts when I attempt to give them some prompts.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they all come around. I'll give you one example. I had a kid enrolled for summer camp. It was a brother and sister, and the sister was very, very nature involved, and the brother was very computer involved. And the mother came to pick the kids up at the end of the day, and the brother was sitting just alone at a table. And the mother just said, "This is enough." She just knew this was enough for him, that he was getting what he needed out of the experience, even though it was just sitting quietly at a table. But being there for more weeks, it happened that we would be out on a hike and one of the younger kids would drop their jacket and he would run to pick up the jacket and return it to the little kid. And we actually had found a dead lizard and we're going to dissect it. And I knew he wouldn't want to be involved directly. But I said, well, my hands are going to be too busy right now. Can you videotape this for us? So I gave him the school camera and he was our documentarian. So he took all the photos and videos for the day. And so that got him involved.
Yes. Beautiful. And so what I heard there was that even if it takes as long as a couple of months, children will sort of soften into their willingness and their desire to be out of doors with you or with themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. So beautiful.
Thank you. Everybody has their own level of comfort, whether that's kids or adults, but the more you just do it, the more the comfort comes.
Yeah. I love, love, love that you have the outdoor school for school-age children in the East Bay area. I love that all over North America and in Britain and in, I think, New Zealand and Australia and parts of Europe, there are cropping up all over the place what we're calling nature preschools and nature classrooms in schools or outside of schools.
Yeah.
And I love that this whole quote unquote forest bathing is this in vogue things that people are paying a lot of money to do. Go walk or stand or sit in a forest and feel the benefits. Can you share with us and our listeners some of the benefits that you see your children receiving?
Well, just, one of the first benefits is a physical benefit, because I'm getting kids, the older they are, again, the more I've decided to come up with this term called nature remediation. So the more they need nature remediation. So
yes,
I will get a child who's been in elementary school for a long time and they don't know how to walk on dirt. Or there's, for instance, right down from the parking lot
even with shoes on, you're saying, right?
Correct. Oh yeah, even with shoes on, they just don't know how to walk on an uneven surface. And there's a small hill coming down from the parking lot where our outside school kids get dropped off, and it's a dirt hill with some gravel on top of it. And the older the kids are, the more they've been in public school and not exposed to nature, the more likely they are to just slip. Their feet go right out from under them. And it takes a few days for them to learn how to walk down this hill. And it's not a big hill. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. Or they will for instance, there's a lawn area. We don't always go to a lawn area, but they're fun for chasing dragonflies, or we'll do some litter pickup activities. But there'll be a little hill in the lawn, and then they'll fall down. If they're running, they'll fall down when they reach the little hill, because they won't have expected their foot to have needed to go up a fraction from their previous
Wow.
step.
So that's a whole like mind body awareness and a lack of like basic balance.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So these are children who've been sitting at desks in school, sitting in front of a device at home, not being out of doors with their families or even in their backyards playing with friends, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
What else are you seeing?
So, they, again, with the older they are, the more likely they've been exposed to other kids their age, sort of in the social and emotional realm rather than the physical realm. They're coming in and they tease other kids, and they come in with these chants that I'm disappointed, because they're chants that I heard in my childhood. I'm in my early 50s. So why are we still singing these chants that are not nice? They're really mean. And, we're decades here. We're more generations and more decades. Why are we still doing this? So that takes some time to unwind and explain, we're in with different ages, and these other kids haven't been exposed to these words or sentiments. And that takes a similar length of time to unwind them from, but they unwind from that too. And I really feel like there's this, with a lot of kids, they are learning how to put up these walls around themselves, and not just being the cool kids that we know they are. And it really just makes me sad, because it seems like a lot of these taunts are based on putting up these walls, and also just not feeling good about themselves, and having their own level of self-esteem. So I work on that, and we're very democratically involved, and we have lots and lots of discussions and debates, so that everybody does have a say. It's not me, it's the kids. We're all there together as a group. And it doesn't matter how old or young you are, you can be a leader.
When you mentioned that boy a little while ago who noticed a younger child dropped a piece of clothing and he went to pick it up, that's the kind of thing you're noticing as they do unwind from that closed off, it's me against the world kind of that they come to you with. And then given a bit of time, they're natural, like we've said on a few episodes, our innate ability and natural desire to be empathetic and to be compassionate as a human being. You're watching that show up again, right?
I am.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing, because they'll be like, ha ha ha, he couldn't put his sunblock on. Look, that big white streak. And I'm like, oh, well, that's because he's still learning how to put on his sunblock. Maybe you can show him how you put yours on, so that there won't be a white streak anymore, So,
beautiful.
So they're learning. It takes, and again, it takes time, but they are developing those social skills that we want as people in the world.
Yeah.
Well, so many blessings to you with the patience that you must need sometimes and the awareness to hold all of that knowing, so that those children in your care can unwind and drop off from the negative behavioral patterns that they've developed and physiological patterns they've developed in their bodies, and actually grow into that, the blossoming of their truer selves, I like to think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
thank you.
Beautiful work. Yeah. So there was the physical, and we talked about the balance and just learning. Anything else with the physical out?
Well, I would say that you can tell how much more energy it takes to be outdoors than indoors, because especially when the kids are new, they are starving. Like their parents have to pack a lunch at least 150% the size they would normally give their child. The children are hungry. It takes so much energy to, be in this sensorial environment and then to move your body more. And I've also seen, it's really funny because sometimes a kid will change their clothes and they've got these muscular bodies underneath there that you don't really see when they're wearing their clothes, but they'll take a shirt off. You're like, whoa. So they just build up all these muscles when they're outdoors, and they're so strong.
That, our listeners, is our natural state.
Yes.
Our bodies should be toned and strong, right? We should have the stamina to run through the woods for hours on end. So I mean, when you go outside with your toddlers, either on a walk or at a playground or a green space or a forest or a beach, you can't even keep up with those little 2-3-year-olds. They're just running. They tire us out. And that's how it's supposed to be. We are all supposed to have that level of stamina and strength, right? It's amazing.
I can imagine your kids, they probably get a good night's rest.
Me too.
I did a video reel the other day because last week, when we're recording this, in May, we had an episode about sleep. And for that week on our social, I did a reel that said, here's something to help you that we didn't talk about on that episode. Get your children outside to run and jump and climb and play and slip and slide and, roll around on the grass, and they will go to sleep easier. I promise.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of the things I've heard for kids who have are on the autism spectrum or might have ADHD, that if they can go outdoors before they go to school, they will be able to have a more successful day when they're in school. And so I think that goes for everybody, that if you can start your day a little bit outdoors, that you can, concentrate better when you are in your indoor environment.
Right. So that leads beautifully to where I wanted to go next, just before we need to wrap up, is what do you know of the benefits of being outdoors for, I don't know what an ample amount of time is each day, but even a little bit of time each day, but what are the benefits for our children?
Well, it's funny because that is written about a lot. Like, I know there are a couple authors who speak about it a lot, which are Richard Louv and Peter Gray speak about it a lot.
Yes.
And there are tons and tons of scientific studies at this point about the benefits of being in nature. So what I see as the benefits are that you're more grounded, more calm. You can notice more. You can problem solve better. You can get along with others. You can get along with yourself. You can learn how to relax. You can make discoveries on a regular basis. And my very, 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 very favorite thing is experience awe.
Yes.
You actually get to experience awe.
Yes. Awe and wonder.
Yep.
Yes.
I can't think of anything better than that. And we do that regularly. And I just feel so lucky that that's part of regular life for me.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. I just heard a 102-year-old woman being interviewed on a podcast this morning, and she said one of the things she says we need in our lives is to discover the wow of life. And if we look for the heartbreak and the sadness, we will find it. And if we look for the wow and that awe and wonder, we will find it.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I think we don't even have to go looking for the disappointment and agony and all that. I think
We
it just
don't.
comes,
I think it's what we focus on, right?
Yeah.
That's what she was saying. If we focus on those things, we'll find more and more of them. But what you have, Heather, which is so beautiful, is this group of children out of doors, being allowed the time and the space to experience the wow of life. Like, what an incredible gift. Thank you for the work you're doing in the world.
Really.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You are recognizing parents for doing their work that is not always easy, and you're giving these tips and tricks to help them along the way. And I thank you as well.
Well, thank you. We've got some wrap up questions. So the first one is a little bit differently worded because Heather has chosen not to become a parent, right?
Yes.
Right.
So the question that we normally ask is, what's one thing that surprised you about becoming a parent? So you didn't become a parent, but you told me something in one of our private conversations that I loved, which was?
I think that most people assume that I'm a parent, because I'm a grown woman, and the expectation from people in the world is that I must be a parent, I must be a mom. And I'm not. So it's fun to let people know that not all the stereotypes are true.
Yeah. And I remember you saying that you chose not to become a mom because you were working with little children. And you were like,
whatever that answer. Yeah. And so that was true. So I grew, I'm here in the Bay Area, and a couple of things. One is I was already teaching preschool age families around the time I was ending what should really be the end of the childbearing years, and like this is not going to happen. And then it's also very expensive to have children, so it made a lot more sense for us not to have children of our own. And
what I remember you saying was that you were working at least 8 hours a day with these little ones, and you could not imagine going home and having another few hours on either side of your workday with young children.
Yeah, so, it's true because when you're working with children so closely for it was 8 or more hours a day, it's exhausting work. And really I couldn't imagine going home and then raising my own kids at the same time. I didn't think that I would be I wouldn't be a very good teacher, or I wouldn't be a very good parent. And it just made a lot more sense for me not to be a parent.
And I love that you consciously chose that for yourself and your family with your husband, and that you have dedicated all these years to supporting children and being with children. It's really beautiful.
Well, thank you. And I enjoy supporting their parents as well. I mean, that's a
big part of teaching. I know.
It's a huge part of teaching, and I think
really
it's really
is
important.
Yeah. And then the second question is, what does being a nurturing teacher in a child's life look like to you?
I think for me, it looks like paying really, really close attention to what's needed in any given moment. Whether that is coming in closer, whether that's giving space, whether you need to set a boundary and hold firm to that boundary, or when do we need to let that slide? I heard you talking about that in one of your other podcasts about when is that boundary going to be firm? When is it going to slide? Really paying close attention to the energy of your child, but also nurturing yourself and being able to know where that energy is for you too. Because what if you didn't get enough sleep last night, and that means for you that your temper might be a little shorter. So what can you do to nurture yourself and then give your child the time and space they need also? So it's really about reading yourself and reading your child.
Yes, it
Beautiful.
is.
It really is. Reading both those books or all those books thoroughly all the time.
And then lastly, where can our listeners find you, Heather?
I have my website is outside.school. And from there you can find all my social media links and blog and all of that stuff. But that's my school. Also, I have this started even way before the school. I have a resource site for people interested in outdoor education, whether they're families or educators, and that's teachoutside.org. So
Ooh, that one sounds
practical,
good for our families.
yeah, lots of practical tips and tricks, and some links, because I've found over the years gear that works really well over other gear. So if you find a specific recommendation, it's because it's tried and true.
And
And
that's teachoutside.org. Okay, cool.
yeah. And again, you can reach, my social media links are attached to the site, so you can find me around and see what we've been up to lately.
So you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, and YouTube as well?
And yeah, YouTube as well. I
Cool.
discovered that I needed to show families what our school day was like, because it's really hard to explain. So
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So all of those links, Serena will very kindly put in the show notes, so it's easy for our listeners to just scroll down and click a link and come find you and follow you on your social.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather.
This was a really lovely conversation. I loved it. It's near and dear to my heart. I love that Mama Serena is making every effort to get her little ones outdoors most days, if not all days. And to our listeners, please do. You'll be happier. Your little ones will be happier and calmer.
If you were just as excited as I was to go see what the school is like, you can go into our show notes and find the YouTube link. I'll tell you that within the first few minutes of watching the video, which is called Introduction to a Morning at Outside School in the Wildcat Creek Watershed, I had, within the first 2 minutes, I had so many questions. I was so intrigued. The way Heather just explained where we were, the history behind it, what was happening to the earth and the erosion, it was really interesting. And I just can't imagine what being in a school like this outside every day could do to a kid. Like, talk about experience awe. It was incredible. So I encourage you to go check that out. And to just recap, I wanted to remind you of the benefits, which are more calm, better focus, relax, unwind from the attitude of me against the world, better sleep, increased appetite, increase in muscle, feelings of groundedness. You'll get along better with others and experience awe. And one tip that Heather shares is bringing something outdoors, and this will allow your kids to be curious and explore on their own and not want to drag you along the whole time. You can bring something that will make you quote unquote busy. Heather brings out a book and she'll read, or she'll pretend like she's reading, and this will allow the kids to think before they have to interrupt. Or you can be doing your beauty routine and doing your nails. Anything besides a phone should do. And then here are some reminders. You can still reap benefits of nature even if you don't have any nature near. Like if you're in the city, you can benefit from having pictures and photographs of nature or having plants in your home. And another reminder that I love is love of nature comes from exposure. So that's our responsibility to expose our littles, our responsibility to bring them outside and allow them to experience nature and the awe that it has. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. And I have something fun for you. If you would like a bud vase because I love Heather's idea of going for a mindfulness walk and collecting a bud to stick in her vase. I would love to send you a bud vase if you would just leave us a review, take a screenshot, and you can DM it to us on Instagram, or you can send it to us in an email, and all those links are going to be in the show notes. Just send us a screenshot of your review and we'll exchange information and we will send you a bud vase. You can let us know what your child's name is and we'll send it in their name so they can get excited about getting something in the mail, and then hopefully be excited to go on a mindfulness walk with Mama to pick out a beautiful bud to stick into their bud vase. Thank you for joining us again, and we can't wait to see you here next week. Bye-bye.